Good morning. It's time now for the Wells Report front page. This is Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. In national news this morning, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, will be booked at the Rice Street Jail in Fulton County, Georgia. This from USA Today. Donald Trump and his 18 co-defendants in a Georgia racketeering case will be booked at the county jail in contrast to the courthouse processing in his other three criminal cases, and could turn themselves in anytime, according to Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat. The office announced that yesterday. President Trump was indicted on Monday on conspiracy and other charges for trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election. That is what is alleged. His fellow defendants include lawyer Rudy Giuliani and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Labat's office said in a statement bookings will happen at the Rice Street Jail, although plans could change without notice. The jail is open 24 hours per day, and the defendants could show up at any time, according to Sheriff Labat. At this point, based on the guidance received from the district attorney's office and presiding judge, it is expected that all 19 defendants named in the indictment will be booked in to the Rice Street Jail. Also, the Georgia governor, Kemp, says the election was not stolen. This from the governor. This from The Guardian. Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp insisted yesterday the 2020 presidential election in his state was not stolen. This in an apparent defense of the latest criminal indictment of Donald Trump. Governor Kemp, who has clashed frequently with the former president over his false claim the election was rigged, and once again, this is from The Guardian, so it's a bit biased, responded on Twitter to an earlier post on Truth Social from Trump announcing a press conference next week at which he promised to present irrefutable evidence of fraud. The 2020 election in Georgia was not stolen, says Governor Kemp. For nearly 3 years now, anyone with evidence of fraud has failed to come forward under oath and prove anything in a court of law. Our elections in Georgia are secure, accessible, and fair, and will continue to be as long as I'm governor, said Governor Kemp. The future of our country is at stake in 2024, and that must be our focus. For the former president's part, he has indeed vowed to release an irrefutable report exonerating him in the Georgia election. This is from the New York Post. Donald Trump claimed yesterday he will share an irrefutable report next week proving there was 2020 presidential election fraud after being indicted for allegedly tampering with the race results in Georgia. The former president announced on Truth Social that he will present the conclusive report to media at a press event Monday in Bedminster, New Jersey, where his Trump National Golf Club just hosted a Saudi-backed live golf tournament over the weekend. A large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud, which took place in Georgia, is almost complete and will be presented by me at a major news conference at 11 a.m. Monday of next week, the current leading 2024 GOP presidential contender wrote. Fox News is reporting that a 2018 text message from Hunter Biden, in which he claims to have paid his father's bills for more than a decade, suggests further evidence of his family's corruption. This, according to House Republicans. In a text thread with his assistant, Katie Dodge, Hunter wrote that his Wells Fargo account, quote, shut me down again, unquote. Too many cooks in the kitchen, he said. He wrote that on April 12th, 2018. Too many profile changes and such happened 10 days ago, too. What do you need? I'm going to the bank in a few. I need to verify identity in person. Dodge responded, quote, I need to pay AT&T, unquote. Hunter Biden then instructed Dodge to put the payment on both his debit card and his Wells Fargo credit line. Quote, my dad has been using most lines on this account, which I've gotten through the gracious offerings of Eric Schwerin. He's been paying those for the past 11 years, said Hunter. Also in Hunter news, Hunter Biden's top criminal attorney has asked a federal judge in Delaware to allow him to withdraw as Biden's counsel, saying he would become a witness to the case following the collapse of a plea agreement that he had negotiated with prosecutors. This from USA Today. Attorney Christopher Clark filed a motion yesterday to step down from the case, citing questions about Biden's now-defunct plea agreement on tax charges and a diversion agreement on a gun possession charge. Based on recent developments, it appears that the negotiation and drafting of the plea agreement and diversion will be contested, and Mr. Clark is a percipient witness to those issues. Biden will continue to be represented by other attorneys, including Abby Lowell, who appeared on Sunday talk shows last weekend to talk about the naming of the special counsel in the investigation. In state news this morning, first out of Hawaii, Matthew McConaughey is funding a plane filled with emergency aid bound for Maui after the island was devastated by deadly wildfires last week, he announced on Instagram yesterday. The fires have killed at least 99 people, with that number expected to rise as more of the burned area is searched. The tourist town of Lahaina was completely destroyed in the blaze, which approached quickly and prevented many from escaping in time. The actor is funding an aid flight with the charity Baby to Baby, which specializes in emergency aid and care for children. The plane is, quote, filled with hundreds of thousands of more emergency supplies and will have an immediate impact on children and families in Maui, said McConaughey. Grateful we can help get these critical supplies to children and family who needs them. Also out of Hawaii, President Joe Biden said yesterday he will travel to Hawaii as soon as possible to assess recovery efforts from the deadliest U.S. wildfires in more than a century. Quote, a whole city is destroyed. Generations of native Hawaiian history has been turned into ruin. That's what President Biden said in Milwaukee after touring Ingeteam. That is a clean energy manufacturing company that produces onshore wind turbine generators. Quote, my wife and I, Jill, are going to travel to Hawaii as soon as we can. That's what we've been talking to the governor about, he said. I don't want to get in the way. I've been in too many disaster areas, but I want to go and make sure we got everything they need. I want to be sure we don't disrupt the ongoing recovery efforts. President Biden's comments were the first on the wildfires since the number of fatalities surpassed over the weekend. That surpassed over nearly 100. Those from a 2018 fire in California. Now at 99. The death toll could double or even triple, according to Hawaii Governor Josh Green. Out of California, reported from SF Gate. Workers at the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building in San Francisco have been told to work from home indefinitely given conditions in the downtown area. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, building workers received a memo penned by Cheryl Campbell, an assistant secretary with the Department of Health and Human Services, on August 4th. It advised workers to stay home, quote, for the foreseeable future, unquote, because of crime in the area. The building is at the intersection of 7th and Mission Streets. It's home to the office of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as local branches of several federal agencies, including the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, U.S. Department of Labor, and the U.S. Department of Transportation. The area around the building has also become a notorious hotspot as an open-air drug dealing market. From Minnesota, this from Fox News. Goodhue, Minnesota is a small city in the southeastern part of the state. It lost its entire police force. This after the chief and other members of the department handed in their resignations. I think we're all a little bit blindsided by it, but we're resilient and we're going to move forward, said Goodhue Mayor Ellen Anderson Buck, telling Fox 9 in Minneapolis. I want to reiterate that we have police coverage in the city of Goodhue. That is not going to be an issue. Police Chief Josh Smith, who is continuing to serve in his position until August 24th, told city officials he could not find anyone to sign up to join the police force. This has been 3 weeks now. We have 0 applicants. I have 0 prospects, said Chief Smith. On July 26th, I've called every police department around for the youngest guys out there getting into the game. There's nobody getting into the game. Out of Massachusetts, this from the London Daily Mail. An event at Harvard University encouraged graduate students to apply for food stamps. This despite the school's $53 billion endowment. Earlier this year, Harvard University Health Services reminded graduate students they could fuel their bodies and stock their pantries by using government assistance to pay for groceries. Did you know that grad students may qualify to receive assistance paying for food and groceries? Said a flyer that was given out at the event. Harvard's endowment makes it the richest university in the world, a fact that sparked outrage among community members who argued that paying graduate students a livable food stipend would barely even register in Harvard's massive budget. Time for international news out of Ukraine. The Defense Department announced an additional security assistance package for Ukraine valued at up to $200 million to help Ukraine counter Russia's ongoing war of aggression. This is a press release from the DoD. The package includes critical munitions for U.S.-provided Patriot air defense systems and high-mobility artillery rocket systems, among other items. The items are being provisioned as part of the $6.2 billion in presidential drawdown authority, restored in June following a reevaluation of total value of items already committed to Ukraine. The latest round of assistance marks the 44th drawdown of equipment from DoD inventories for Ukraine since August of 2021. The package underscores the United States' commitment to providing Ukraine with the capability it needs to defend its territory. From Australia, the Washington Post reports there are several superlatives one could use to describe this year's Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. It's been really well attended, it's exciting to watch, and it's really, really gay. There are about 100 openly LGBTQ plus players and coaches across the tournament's expanded 32 teams, according to counts by LGBTQ plus publications. One of those, Autostraddle, noted the tournament just might be the most openly queer sporting event in history. The impact for the queer community, not just here but around the world, can't be underestimated, said Bo Newell. In Sports National Program, he is a Sports National Program Manager with ACON, an LGBTQ plus health non-for-profit. Quote, "These women in the World Cup currently, they're the catalyst for change. These athletes are proving that they can be their authentic selves, and that does not compromise their success." Unquote. Finally, the University Academy beat from USA Today. For 14 years, Scott Shaw insisted touching the breasts, buttock, and pelvic areas of female athletes at San Jose State University constituted legitimate medical treatments. Yesterday morning in a San Jose federal courthouse, he admitted the defense was fiction. Shaw, 56, who had worked at the Spartans' head athletic trainer and sports medicine director from 2008 to 2020, and is the associate director for 2 years before that, pled guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of abusing his authority by groping female athletes under the guise of treating their injuries. The case drew parallels to that of Larry Nassar, the disgraced former USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University physician accused of sexually abusing more than 300 female athletes. He is serving an effective life sentence in prison. That's the Wells Report front page for this Wednesday, August 16th, 2023.